then those
That
are all,
battery.
those are all live too, right?
Yeah, they got it on.
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I think we have neighborhood development up first. Who's doing it? Abby?
Yours truly, yes.
Okay.
All right, good morning. Thanks for allowing us to come in. I'm Abby Gilroy, the Executive Director of Neighborhood Development Corporation. We appreciate your time this morning, but also your support of the organization throughout the 25 years and even most recently this year with some projects we've been working on. So excited to report on all of that this morning. I think what I'm going to start with is a few years ago, we did revamp our mission and vision and core values, and so I've got that in the packet and on screen just so you can see really what that is. But our mission really is to come out and provide self-sustaining neighborhoods for the community and prosperous neighborhoods, and we do that by acting as a catalyst for redevelopment through commercial real estate redevelopment. So we're going into transitional areas or maybe blighted neighborhoods and trying to recreate commercial nodes and areas for people in the community to experience and live and work and play in. So we celebrate our 25th year this year, and excited to keep the mission going. So with that, we do a lot of these projects through collaboration with our partners. We've got a lot of private partners that help us leverage our money, and also public partners like yourself, the City of Des Moines, and other entities in the city. So we don't do it alone, as much as I'd love to say that, but with our partnerships, we've made a lot of progress and moved the needle in a lot of the areas that we're working in. So our areas of focus really over the last couple of decades are just outside the core of Des Moines. We feel like our private partners and investors and developers really have that area covered. And we aren't out to compete with them, but we're out to support what they're doing and help kind of support the neighborhoods around that, so that people are living and staying in Des Moines, doing experiences downtown, and just kind of working throughout the city and living and playing throughout the city. So those areas and neighborhoods, we've been working the Parks area, 6th Avenue corridor, Drake neighborhood, Wayland Park, and it comes around to the south side at Southwest 9th, Columbus Park, and even over to Capitol East. So you can see we just kind of cover right around the core of Des Moines. So that's where we've been spending a lot of our focus over the last several years. And what we've kind of established over the last couple of years, we spent a lot of time starting to gather data on the work that we have done, just so we can show statistically the impact that these projects are having on the neighborhoods and where your dollar is going and how that's being leveraged into additional investment into the city. So what I want to start with are just a few key markets that we've worked in over the last, probably 10 years, so most recent projects, and show you some of the statistical data behind those projects and their impact in town. So we'll start there. Highland Park neighborhood is one that we're all familiar with. It's our most recent project area of focus. This is one where we partnered with InvestDSM so that we could do more faster, I would say. We usually with our budget can go into a neighborhood, grab a couple of properties and work a project a year, but having them on board with us allowed us to do a few projects concurrently within a short amount of time. So a lot of quick impact and change that you can see up there. So this area here, just to show you where we focused, was right at 6th and Euclid. It's a cute little commercial node up there. It's one where our board said, hey, we don't need to add any more square footage to this neighborhood. There are already great operators. There are already destinations. We just need to help stabilize the bricks around those operators so that they can run their businesses every day. So we worked on building improvements, facade improvements, and just kind of improved those spaces and the ability for people to walk and move through this neighborhood. So some of the projects that we focused on, here's some before pictures. You had Chuck's, Des Moines Mercantile, where they're located now. That was kind of an auto shop, the Highland Park Bakery, and then what will become Lachelle's here. We did some technical assistance on that project. We aren't involved financially, but we did help them run performas in different scenarios so that they teed up that project for success long-term. And also the Klein Building is one that we're working with to help them with some sourcing for that. So you can see it was just kind of a taupe brown kind of theme throughout the neighborhood, and now it's just vibrant. There's life. There's people walking around. We've got an open coffee shop. The bakery is double the size of what it was. Chuck's is much more welcoming and bright and vibrant inside as well. The Mercantile, that was a great project. That before picture, like you saw, it was covered with wood siding. When we took it off, it was in pristine condition. That brick needed no work. It was just covered up for years. So that one we got away with pretty easily. So when we look at these, we looked at some of the values before we came into the neighborhood. So we looked at the assessments when we took control of the properties. And combined, these properties were about $336,000 for assessments. And today's value is $1,336,000. So that's kind of moving the needle in what we would consider the property tax revenue side of things, and how we can, for you to see a return on the investment of the dollar that you're putting into NDC. And then also what we did is try to capture every dollar that's being spent as having about a $24 economic impact in that area, whether through the wages, taxes, construction, shopping, coffees, all those sorts of things. So we've seen even taxes from those things. So seen that impact as well, but then also looked at the surrounding values, what's happening around our project, not just the buildings we did, but is that spreading into the neighborhood? And we are starting to see valuations increase from 19 to 49%, depending on what type of property it is, single family versus commercial, and that sort of thing. So we felt like NDC likes to stay in our neighborhoods till they're stabilized. We have people contacting us all the time for space in this neighborhood, and there just isn't anything available anymore. The private market has moved in, purchased the buildings behind us, and really they're taking it from here. So we feel like we have done a lot of the heavy lifting and made these other projects possible for them into the future. So with that, we'll talk about another project we're doing in this area to help kind of finalize some stabilization, but otherwise we can move into some other neighborhoods, we feel, at this time. Drake neighborhood is another area that we've been focusing on. We've been in this neighborhood for about 8 years. Our areas of focus here, we're up on Forest Avenue. It would be just west of the Drake Stadium, and then down on University Avenue. And really what we did was set out to try to expand the boundaries of Drake University. They have a great core. They were working with private developers to redevelop some projects or properties just south of them, adjacent to the university. But we went out and grabbed properties on the outer core of their boundaries that are more risky and that the private investors and developers just aren't going to do without our assistance. So we went out and grabbed those and kind of worked in towards the university and been successful in that neighborhood. I think there's $60 million worth of development that has occurred or is occurring now since the time we started working in the neighborhood. So some of the before pictures along Forest Avenue, vacant storefronts, abandoned storefronts, abandoned lots, just underutilized and haven't been maintained, a lot of the buildings. And then Varsity Theater as well. We worked in that project team. So now Forest Avenue Village, we've got some great housing over there. We did a deal with Casey's right next door for just a little neighborhood market. And then we've got another project which we'll jump into in a little bit, just there on Forest, just bringing more housing and people to the neighborhood. Varsity Theater, we did work on that. We acted as a guarantor for that project just to get it across the finish line. They did a great job in fundraising and sourcing that project, but the bank needed a guarantor. So NDC stepped in, and we still act in that role today to bring that project to fruition. And then University Avenue, we've got obviously the Lucky Horse building there where our office is, and University Avenue. So when we started these efforts, the pre-assessments were about $1 million, $1,021,000. And today's assessments on these are about $9,335,000, and that does not include an $8 million project that we have underway on University Avenue. So we'll be seeing that number improve as well.
What were those numbers again? Pre was around
$1,021,000.
post?
$9,335,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're starting to kind of see that that needle move a little bit.
Yeah.
Same here, $24 to $37 in economic impact for every dollar that's spent in the neighborhood. So we're seeing improvement there as well, and then increased valuations around as well, 16 to 49%. Another area is the Columbus Park, Indianola Hills. So this is going to be south of Principal Park area. We focused in 2 different areas here, just south of the river. There was an 8-acre parcel of partially owned by the city of Des Moines, partially privately owned. So it was assemblage of about 8 different properties to pull that together. And then a former asphalt roofing shingle place that was just contaminated. No one wanted to touch either one. So we came in and started working on those projects, and we'll go into those in a moment. And then down by Southeast 14th, just working on improving and bringing an alternative type of housing down there to that area. So some before pictures, again, it was just vacant, underutilized land, vacant buildings. The mobile home park that we had there at Indianola Park that had just kind of run down. The owner has kind of threw his hands in the air. He didn't know what to do at that point. So we stepped in and helped him, and helped every single, with your support, helped every single person living there door to door, found them new housing and got them into better situations, and moved forward with the project there. So with these projects, our pre-assessments, they were pretty low just because they were vacant buildings, vacant grounds. We were at $979,000, and today they're at $44,285,000. And that does not include the $8.4 million project that's underway at Park Indy. And this we cannot do alone. So that large 100 Jackson, the Jackson Crossing project, that was a partnership with 2 private investors and developers that really took our scale project and brought it to a much bigger scale and had a bigger impact faster. And that's when we learned we can leverage our dollar with partners, public and private. And so we started doing that really into the future. So that's with that other project, the townhome project, that's with a private partner as well. With our budget doing anything over $4 to $6 million, we're gonna have to bring in private money to help us leverage it. And then Madison Flats is one that we were able to do on our own, and that was about 13 years ago. So not as much impact or increase in the value, the economic impact is only $13.89, but that's really because we were bringing housing to the area. We didn't have anybody living down there. And so what that's gonna allow us to do is bring in, now you see the market district starting to grow, and you're starting to see storefronts fill in because there are people there living and walking around in the area. So, but the valuations is where we did see increase, 30 to 71% in a lot of the surrounding properties valuations increased there. So we feel those were impactful and fed into the mission well. So those are a few of just the history, I guess, over the last 10 years. I wanted you to see the impact of the dollar and the investment that you're making in NDC, and that it is allowing us to provide these neighborhoods with self-sustaining real estate. It's allowing them to grow into the future. So with that, we can hone in on most recently. This is our last year. So like I said, we celebrated our 25th anniversary this year, and with that, there's 3 buckets of activity at NDC. We have a planning stage, a development phase, and then stabilization. So with planning this year, we started working at the East 9th and Hull. This is the Union Park, Highland Park line. It's right by Grandview University. So we've established a really good, strong relationship with them, and continue talking with them. They have a lot of parcels right there that they are using, but they're underutilized for the neighborhood, so to speak. So we'd love to do a redevelopment plan there, a lot like Highland Park, and bring in storefronts, bring in housing opportunities right there in that neighborhood. So we did some planning efforts on that, hoping that we can acquire some property in this next 18, 24 months, and then hopefully see some redevelopment there in the next couple of years as well. Parks area, this is the Highland Park, Union Park, Oak Park, the East 9th we just talked about, Highland Park, the cold storage area, kind of over by Riverview. We want to tie in what I call the trifecta in those 3 areas so that people can come to the north side and experience 3 or 4 different things. They can go over to East 9th, they can go to Highland Park, or go and listen to music at Riverview. So we're starting to get that rolling, and it's not without the investment from Polk County and the city of Des Moines. 48th and Franklin, a great little node in the city. That neighborhood's very healthy. It's just got some underutilized property that we have owned for a couple of years, and really excited to get that moving. We'll be working with InvestDSM on the redevelopment of that lot. It's about a 3-acre parcel right there just south of Franklin Junior High. Drake Dogtown, we're working on the University Avenue project, just bringing housing to the east end of that neighborhood. So we're working on that. The planning stages of that was last year. And the Highland Park patio and parking lot, that's just been in discussions for a long time, but we feel it's a piece that needs to happen in order for us to feel complete in that area. We've done a lot with the buildings themselves, but we need a parking plan there. We need some patio space and outdoor space, pedestrian space throughout the neighborhood. So we'll be working, we worked on some planning efforts this past year, and hopefully we'll be developing that and bringing it to fruition this year. And then development, Forest Avenue is underway. I showed you that one, University Avenue, Indianola Avenue, which is the lower, the center picture there, and cold storage. This is a large lot, 3-acre parcel over by Riverview that we partnered with Polk County and the city to acquire. And we have redevelopment plans for that, and that can hopefully come to fruition. We've been awarded brownfield tax credits there, and we'll submit for workforce and hopefully bring something to fruition there so people can have a couple of different experiences when they come down for a concert. And then our stabilization efforts, that's, like I said, Highland Park. We'll continue working with those neighborhoods and making sure they have the tools they need to be prosperous, I guess, into the future. Drake Dogtown, same thing, and Indianola Hills, the south side. We really feel like we've gotten to a point in these 3 neighborhoods where the private market's coming in, and that's our cue to kind of move out, but we're still here as a resource and to help them move forward into the future. This next year, really, we'll be focusing on our strategic plan. We do this every 3 years, and this is the year. So we're working on that. We'll roll out our rebrand. The rebrand is what is on the packet and in the presentation today. So that will be rolling out. And development, East 9th and Hull, cold storage, University Avenue Station. So about $20 million worth of development this year coming online. And then we start shopping again, for lack of a better term. So we'll identify new key areas of focus, new neighborhoods, and start acquiring property there. As we stabilize these other three need to come in. So anytime you have projects you want us to look at or areas you want us to consider, we're a resource here for you, whatever you need. So that's about it. I just wanted to show you the impact we've been having and that your dollar is spreading. We're leveraging it well, and the community is benefiting from it. Absolutely.
Abby, the cold storage property,
Yeah.
when do you think, so you've got a couple concepts you're working on?
Yes.
When will those be unveiled? sort of
I would say right now what we have is a master plan and isn't officially unveiled, but I'm comfortable showing it. But where it is, what we're going to do is apply for Prairie Meadows grant, correct? I think that's coming up here. And that will allow us to create some of the public space and pedestrian space that we want to tie in kind of at the north end of that with the bridge. And then we have a private partner we're working with on a restaurant concept there. They will not be ready to open operations till 2026. So if we start this next year, the timing works out perfect with them. So we'd like to bring small scale housing element to it, so people are down here living and playing, and then the restaurant would help kind of complement the Riverview. We don't want to compete with what they're doing there. They've got their food trucks and those sorts of things, but at least you can have a couple different experiences when that occurs. Now we're trying to get, there's property to the east we would love to acquire, but those businesses are in full force and just not in a position to sell at this time. So we'll continue to talk to them. They know who we are. They know that we're ready, but it would be really neat to take that development all the way to 6th, so it's more visible. So I would say spring of 25 is when I would like us to start.
Got it.
Yeah.
Abby, any updates on the potential to attract Toppling Goliath for near Varsity Theater?
I don't know.
Okay.
I wasn't involved in that. I did hear that they have just said, we're not expanding right now. But that is
Okay.
not from them to me, that is through the grapevine. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's that location or if it's just everything. They're just sitting tight right now.
And just in terms of your overall, it seems like a lot of areas where you are focusing and having success is also tied to InvestESM. Is that important because of the the money that they bring into the area for commercial attractions and residential improvements?
Yeah, it's helping tremendously to have a single-family element
Okay,
in the overall investment that we're making. We don't do any single family, so it's kind of a chicken and the egg. It's, do you do the retail and hope people buy homes around it? Or do you bring the people to live in the homes and hope the retail goes? And so we've realized that they need to happen concurrently. That people don't want to live in a neighborhood where the storefronts are empty and people are, it's just kind of a free-for-all. And vice versa. It's hard for a retailer to come into an area where there isn't, a demographic that's going to support their business there. So it's been very impactful to have them working the single-family side of things in these neighborhoods. But then also, they've helped us on our commercial projects as well, in the Highland Park area especially. So without their support, we'd still be working there,
Yeah.
just with our budget versus theirs, so.
and
we've been able to
I
partner.
I see Southwest Ninth as part of the improvement area for you. Are they still working on taking that to 3 lanes and creating more improvements? And if so, is it a phased approach? Do you know?
I do not know. I'd have to
Okay.
get an update from
Okay.
Councilmember Gatto on that to see where it went.
Okay.
I think there was some pushback or opposition, but I think it would do the businesses a lot of good to have that, just to
Yeah.
slow it down.
Yeah.
When retail's right up against the street, that's 25-mile-an-hour retail. And they're flying through, 40, 45 miles an hour, and
Yeah.
it just isn't sustainable. They won't be successful there.
Tom
So
and I
it'd be nice to
share
slow it
that
down.
street, so it's been one of the areas I know that people have looked at for,
Yeah.
maybe a way to support or re-support, because retail seems pretty dead right there.
It is, and I think it's just because people are moving so quick. It's hard
Yeah.
to stop and know where to turn and turn,
Yeah.
so it's,
Yeah,
and that's why, Euclid would be really successful as well, is just to slow that down so those retailers along Euclid at 6th
yeah,
could be more successful there, but
yeah.
I don't
Appreciate-
know about Southwest. Ninth.
Appreciate all you're doing.
Yeah,
It's
no,
amazing.
it's fun. We love it. So we
Great-
appreciate the support. We can't do it
Great
without it.
statistics.
Yeah, so anything you need, just reach out. You know where to find us. And any other questions?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your
All right.
time.
Good morning.
So, good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm Stephanie Murphy with Neighborhood Finance Corporation, but I think you all know that. I've had the pleasure of serving on NDC's board for 10 years, so it was great to hear that presentation. And it's always great to see all the good work that they're doing. First, I think you all know that we moved to a new place. We did a $1 million renovation. We acquired the spot much through working with Abby and NDC helping us identify a place that was correct for us to go. So that's another value that really didn't even show up on there, but just we were able to acquire this property. It's the former Stockdale's, if you remember. So if you'd ever like to stop by, if you haven't already, please do. We'd love to show you. We have a timeline and of our work over the past 34 years and some other things. It's a lovely space. Our mission has remained the same, and I just want to center us here because I'm going to talk about a lot of new things that we're doing. But we continue to operate in neighborhoods throughout Des Moines, and then we also are in some of the suburbs, West Des Moines, Urbandale, Windsor Heights on a very limited basis. But our mission is neighborhood revitalization. We provide those key lending products of purchase with renovation, refinance, and home improvement for people of any income. And as has been for over 30 years, our forgivable loan is $10,000, and that's funded through the 2080 agreement with Polk County and the city of Des Moines, as well as an additional $2,500 for closing cost. And so those are our key programs, but sort of what our story is going to be as I go on is that we've grown because we've started to attract more federal dollars to be able to serve the housing needs of the community that we serve, just because we know that there's housing affordability issues and things like that. So I'm going to talk about that. We also, about 25 years ago, became a NeighborWorks organization, and we also are a licensed mortgage banker now, and we are a CDFI, which is a community development financial institution, designated through U.S. Treasury that allows us to get federal capital as grants that we then can recycle as loans for decades, is sort of how we've gone about it. This is very busy, so I'm just going to point out a couple of things. It shows our lending in Polk County. This includes the down payment money that we did last year, as well as the Polk County Large Renovation Program. I'm going to talk more about those. But just short, we did serve 296 borrowers with $12 million of total lending. That included $4.2 million of renovation. Every dollar of local funds that we leverage is another $11.40 of private and federal funds. And for every dollar of forgivable loan funds, it increases the property value by almost about $2. Also, NeighborWorks does it for us an annual evaluation of what our overall economic impact, including NFC properties, is. So it's $34.7 million a year is our economic impact in the community. And the work that we do, because we work with so many small businesses on the renovations, creates or maintains 179 jobs. So we're really proud that we're a small business, basically supporting other small businesses in the community, though we're a nonprofit. So the three big recent wins that I want to talk to you about, and you're key to two of these, Polk County Large Renovation, the Down Payment Assistance Program, and then our Energy Advantage Program. All three sort of came out of ARPA. That was, I'm sure you're aware that the $11 million that we received from you wasn't actually ARPA money, which thank you. It's always great to get non-federal money. It makes it a little easier for us to administer. But the Polk County Down Payment Program was offered in partnership. Neighborhood Finance administered that, and 17 lenders participated. So we did the down payment assistance for 17 different local lenders. We required that they have an office in Polk County and staff here, so we didn't work with like online lenders. The Polk County Large Renovation is a partnership between Neighborhood Finance, Habitat for Humanity, and in fact, Lance was going to try to come today, but he was out of town because they've been a key partner in that. The Polk County Home Repair with Dave, Metro Home Improvement, the City of Des Moines, and Rebuilding Together. So those are the partners that came together. And I'll talk a little bit more about it, but how it works is that it used to be that someone would call Neighborhood Finance, and if we could help them, but only maybe with a small loan because their ability to borrow, then we would have them contact Dave at Polk County, and we'd have them contact Habitat, and they'd have to be contacting all these different organizations. And so now, when they contact one organization, we bring them to the group, and the group meets every other week. And everybody sort of says, what can we do to help them? And so, for instance, we had one project that Polk County Emergency Repair did $9,300 of it. They did the roof, the gutters. That's very often, that is the case with that. Sometimes we'll do weatherization or furnace. City of Des Moines Ion came in with another $10,000, and then we were able to do about $29,000 through Polk County Renovation. So they were able to access the programs that were already there, but then this covered the gap of program funding that wasn't available. And then Habitat for Humanity, who runs out of their money every year and has waiting list, was able to administer the program for that homeowner. So they only worked with one organization instead of three. So it's been a really collaborative approach. And here's just a little bit about the down payment program. Through July, we deployed 4.5 of the 5 million. We had the other homeowners that are in there are pretty much all Habitat home buyers, and the homes are still being built, so we're holding that money for them. The two largest lenders ended up being Neighborhood Finance and Habitat for Humanity for that program, but some other lenders came in right behind that. Just because we're serving a lot of the folks below 80% median income in the community. And then it leveraged another $29.5 million in private capital. And I have to apologize here. I have the wrong chart on the race ethnicity. I got them switched with the Polk County Large Reno, so when you get there, you'll see it, but they're pretty close. In both of them, we served, about half of the folks served were communities of color, or they didn't report income, which nationally is believed to be often communities of color don't report, they're not income, their race. They don't report their race because they're afraid of discrimination. So we think that we served a really large proportion of folks that were communities of color, and also we were able to not just serve like right below 80%, but you can see from these charts really deep into it. And this was a lot of, because we combined. So like if folks came through us to get the loan, and that's probably why we did a lot of them, or Habitat did, we combined the 30,000 with Federal Home Loan Bank money, if that was available, which is another 7,500, and with our own down payment money, which is another 10,500, the 10,000 forgivable for repairs, and then if they were from an African-American household, they could get another 10,000 or 15,000, depending on where the house was located. So people were getting up to $40,000 worth of subsidy to purchase a home. And what we really learned from that is that there were a lot of people out there, because the money went much faster than we thought. There are a lot of people that were out there that were qualified and looking for a home, but they couldn't afford a home at the price point. So once you start layering in all this subsidy, they could. So it was a really exciting time for us to see
Any
that
question for
happen.
you? On the home, getting back to the home down payment
Uh-huh.
situation, are you saying that the average allocation for down payment was $40,000?
Well, it was 30,000 from the Polk County money.
Right.
But then if they came through us, we have another 10,500 that we can give to folks. So everyone that came through us got 40,500.
So what are the terms there? Do they have to pay that back as time goes on, or they just forgiven? or
They
what?
do. It's a 0% deferred loan that they have to pay back if they sell the home or if they do a cash out refinance. So if they use their equity to pay off credit cards or something like that, then they have to pay it back at that time. But if they want to refinance because the rates get lower or something, then they don't have to pay it back at that time. It just stays out there.
It's
Is
a hell of
that-
a deal.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. I'm trying to think what's the downside here. I don't see one. I don't really see one. It looks like these homes have been purchased and people are living in them and taking care of them, I assume. And
Yeah.
now Home Inc. used to have a home buyers kind of education thing. Do we
Every,
do that?
everyone had to receive home buyer education to do it. They had to receive it at least 8 hours. And then we use like Evelyn K. Davis, if somebody's not quite ready to buy and needs budget counseling, we work with their program that I know you all support. And then also, one thing we did with this, and this was really key because both Habitat and NFC, we see people that have purchased homes, especially low-income folks, and they didn't get a home inspection. And then they have all these repairs. And so we made everybody have a home inspection. And then one of our staff members went over that home inspection with them to make sure that they had the money to make the repair, or they were or that the seller was taking care of it, so that basically everyone was moving into a home that had the repairs done as part of the purchase.
Right, the nice thing what you guys do is you collaborate with banks, so nobody's taking any business away from anybody, they still get the business.
Right.
That's
Yep, exactly.
a pretty good thing, really, on the way around.
Yeah, if you ever have more money that you want to give to it. We actually have a grant out right now and that was one of the commitments that I had made, like, as a CDFI, when we can show that we can do these programs, then it's easier for us to go out and raise money. We do have a grant application out. It's very competitive. I don't know that we'll get it, but we have applied for $5 million to do a similar program, to continue it. I have figured that if we could raise, and we have some of this money already that we're recycling in the community from previous grants. We started doing this in 2016. But if we could get like $25 million in down payment, then people would start to pay it back fast enough that we would always have it available. We're at about 10.
So the only thing that I don't see happening, unlike other programs, is the case management. You know, we're not going through each homeowner, especially people that have never owned a home before. A lot of people don't know what their expectations are. I'm hoping that, you know, we don't see them back on the street in a couple years, or your family falls apart, or whatever the case may be. That was the only thing I questioned from the beginning, was case management.
Right. Well, I think that was why they have to have the home buyer education, and a lot of times by having that contact, Home Inc. is our home education provider, and a lot of times by having that contact with Home Inc., then they know who to call. I can't speak for other lenders, but I mean, this is the kind of lending that we do all the time for our purchases, and our delinquencies including 30 days, run at about 2%. We've only had, we will have a foreclosure in the next couple of weeks, but the only that isn't a borrower that passed away, but the only foreclosure we've had in the past 5 years is a borrower that's passed away. And the
not bad.
family, so we do believe that that combination between making sure that the repairs are taken care of, so the family, it doesn't become a burden to them, and higher education are two key things for success. Our foreclosure, our delinquencies are about half the national average just for regular prime loans that all of us get. So we really hope I mean, it's always a risk, but we tried to embed in this program because could design it, and we did a lot of consultation with other providers, those protections.
So the qualification for this is what percent of AMI?
80%.
If I'm 80% or less, I'm qualified to come in for, assuming you have the money, obviously, then if you did, though, I'd be eligible for that, right?
Say that again?
I'd be eligible for that. If I'm 80% of AMI or less,
Yep.
I'd be eligible to come in.
Yep. Yeah, sorry, now I'm very loud.
All right, I turn it up.
Yes, if you're below 80% area median income and you were buying a house in Polk County, you were eligible for it. You had to use a lender that was on the approved list. And what we did, if you want, I can go, but we went and we looked at who's already serving households below 80% area median income. As a bulk of their lending, they had to be 80% or more. We didn't want to work with those that didn't have experience working with programs like this. So that was one of the criteria. Another was that you had to have a location and staff located in Polk County, because we wanted to support local banks. So it's pretty much all the local community banks that we all bank at.
Was this just first-time homeowners only?
We did not make it first-time home buyers, though about, I think, 85 or 90% were.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. It was great to be able to get this money out on the street. Then we also, the Polk County large renovation was the $6 million. We're still doing that program. That's the one that I talked about where we get together twice a month, projects, still flowing through, continue. And, you know, I believe that we're from homelessness. Some of the homes are in such repair. Now, some are just, you know, a few things need to be done, but some of them are in such disrepair that these families would have no housing option. You know, and in that case, and that's why it's great to have other organizations, because we're a lending institution. We're not great at working, I mean, I'll just be transparent, of people that have multi-layer of problems related to poverty, but Polk County and Dave Williamson's group does have that experience. Rebuilding Together does, you know, Greater Des Moines Habitat. So working all together, and we can really solve the problems for these households. So it's a great opportunity. And then again, have the race, ethnicity messed up from the other one, but still high percentage and serving deep, you know, a lot of, you know, almost 25% of the folks are below 30% AMI. So we're stabilizing housing for people that really, if it wasn't that house, they probably couldn't afford to rent. So, thank you very much for that. Let's see, what else we got here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our energy lending journey because we sort of started it, and then, I don't know if you know about this Inflation Reduction Act, but then it passed. And so we've sort of been keyed up to be one of the national leaders in this space because we were already doing it. So in 2020, Fannie Mae said, hey, we'll give you some extra money, and we're a nonprofit, so whenever we can get extra money, if you can track who's doing energy improvements as part of their loan. So we started to track it, and we found that 50% of our homeowners were already doing it. Our home buyers were already doing things, putting in Energy Star, doing insulation, wanting to do solar, things like that. So we, you know, got some money from that, from Fannie Mae, and then we also, because we sell our loans to Fannie Mae, if everyone doesn't know that. Then we partnered with Grow Solar, Polk County Grow Solar, and we sort of were like the preferred lender if they were in one of the NFC lending areas. And then we received $2 million from the local cities when they had the ARPA money available, that was sort of the request that we put forward, so that when somebody comes to get a loan through neighborhood finance, they get the 10,000 forgivable, but if they're committed to doing Energy Star, so instead of just putting in windows, doing Energy Star, or instead of a furnace, maybe a heat pump, they can get an additional $10,000. A deferred loan, like I described before, that will be paid back, so this money will recycle. And so we launched that, and it's been very successful. And we, I think I have some numbers on the next on who we've served so far. But then the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund was announced. This is $27 billion through the EPA, through the Inflation Reduction Act. And as a CDFI, we're eligible to receive up to $11 million off the top. We'll probably get others through other sources and bring other programs to it. And NeighborWorks America has been very involved in that, so we've been working with them. 2 of our lenders became energy lenders, certified, and the application opens up October 10th for us to apply for the $11 million. A little bit, we did receive 2 grants, one for $325,000 and one for $40,000. So we've already started to hire staff to prepare for this. So some local folks came to us and saw what we were doing and said, we'd like to fund your efforts. I'm not ready to announce them yet because they want to do, a big big do, but we're really excited. We do have the money in the bank. So with our Energy Advantage program, we've served 87 homeowners or home buyers, received $580,000 of that $2 million. So that money's going out the door pretty quickly. And 63% of the funds have been low and moderate income census tracts. The majority has gone either to a low mod census tract or borrower, as all of our lending does. And it's used in tandem with our program. And there's a full page on our website if you want more information. So let people know, if folks are coming. And we've had some borrowers that have already used the $10,000 and come back and do a loan and just use the Energy Advantage money with their second loan. So this is just a little bit about what we're thinking and we're going to do with that $11 million, and I'm putting it out there because I want feedback. We want feedback. We have some Grinnell students working in the local neighborhoods that we work in to get their feedback on what we should do. But our thought is we'd like to continue with Energy Advantage, just make that an ongoing program, not funding, and try to dig deeper into healthy home components. Because one thing, we know if we tighten up the seal of a home, well, if there's contaminants within that home, it only becomes more dangerous for that family. So trying to figure that out, working with existing programs and also our own. We also are thinking about doing a consumer loan product so people don't have to come and do a home mortgage. That allows us to do to people that are a little riskier to lend to. But programs like this nationally have shown similar delinquency rates to what we do, because what you're doing with that is installing a very high efficiency system in their home. And so their payment is actually less than what, if we do it at a low interest rate, than their energy savings. So they're actually have more money for their housing. And then we've gotten into multifamily lending, also sort of concurrent with all of this. I would sit on NDC's board, on other boards, and I would see that there were programs that weren't moving forward with low-income housing tax credits, affordable housing programs, and that we as a CDFI could bring capital to that. So we do have $1.75 million right now that we're doing for local developers at 0% interest to build affordable homes. We're raising other capital. And then we know that we'll be getting some amount over the next couple of years from the CCIA. So for instance, we have a loan right now with, I don't know if you're aware of the Town Hall Food Hall project on 6th Avenue that Frank Levy and Cuckoo Shaw, we're the primary lender on that project. So we're bringing capital through our NeighborWorks connections and working with them on that. So that's sort of a new space that we're in. So if you have projects that you see that need capital, please reach out to us and we'll see what we can do, especially if they want to do net zero. I'm very passionate about that we do, so I apologize. We do have NSC properties that keeps plugging along and doing, we're up to 13 homes last year. I think we'll do 15 this year. These are just a couple of the projects. The one on top was a foreclosure that a neighborhood leader contacted us about and said, instead of an investor buying it, would you please bid on it at the sale, the sheriff's sale, we did. We renovated it, and the person has purchased it. And then one below is one that we did in partnership with InvestTSM. We do about 5 to 8 homes with them a year. And this one's in the Highland Park, Oak Park neighborhood. And I listed the other ones we did last year with them. And so they provide the subsidy for us to do a little fancier and larger house than we typically would do without subsidy. My last slide, why I really wanted to be here. I can't leave, I want to thank Supervisor Bort. He has been on board my entire 10 years, except for we had a couple years of Supervisor McCoy, and served as board president twice. Thank you for your service. Been amazing. And I know I wasn't there, that 13-year gap. Supervisor Brownell, you served on the board as well, and I've heard great things about your service, so thank you very much for your service to neighborhood finance. We wouldn't be where we are without the support financially, but more importantly, just like interest and believing in what we're doing and the value that we're bringing to the community. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Stephanie. You do great work. There's a lot of action going on out there.
Yeah, any questions?
Anybody?
Well, one of the presidential candidates has a proposal on down payments right now, and I've been trying to think of a way I can be against that, and, because I'm a Republican, right? And, I knew he did this down payment assistance program here in Metro Des Moines, and I've heard nothing but positives about it today. I don't know if that proposal, that candidate is a grant program or a loan program, but if it's a loan program like we've got, I just don't know what the downside is.
Yeah, I don't know either. I haven't heard whether it's grant. I have become a big fan of deferred loans for some of this money because we're just never going to raise enough money to help everyone. And so if it isn't a deferred loan program, I think if you do it with the right intention, so like we have, I will say we put in if the family's in crisis, there are times when we'll forgive it. Especially on the Polk County large renovation, like if that family continues to be low income and they pass it on to another household, another family member that's low income, at 20 years we'll start forgiving that debt. We don't want to burden low income people, but if people benefit and their house value rises, then they should give back so that the next family.
Well, ownership of a home is kind of the fundamental building block of family wealth.
Right.
And so if we can get people in there and they can start to do that, that changes the whole complexion of things up.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I hate it, but sometimes they are.
God, I know. I don't hate saying it.
Well, thank you for providing those funds, and really has been a game changer for families.
Angela, since I got all for you here, if I can ask you a question. I mean, you all are deeply involved in housing, and that's a huge issue that Des Moines is dealing with and we're dealing with. Do you have a sense of any of the gaps out there that we're missing as a community?
Well, I mean, I think we filled too big of them. I mean, if we could get continued down payment money, that would be huge. So it's not who's ever eligible now, but people that have that dream could, because the problem is if I have the dream today and I get to where I go to EKD, I get the budget and credit counseling, I'm still not going to be able to afford a house if I'm below 80 unless the stars align. And so for me, I would say that's one of the biggest gaps. Now, I'm going to always exist in that sort of home ownership space. You all are very aware, and there's people that are much more experienced than I can speak about those folks that are 50 and below and 30 and below. I mean, the pain there is great, right? We see that every day for affordable housing. And if any of us have low-income people in our families that have tried to find housing, it can be a real challenge. So, but I feel like there's so many people in this community that I work with every day that would speak to that better.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.